When I get done, I'm gonna have to exit out of here and you have to log back in. So it'll be a while, but just log back in. But right now we're good. All right, welcome, welcome. Yeah. Okay, we'll go over that in a second. Let's start with let's start with the support resistance areas, the box areas. And I'll start right to left. What I'd like to do here is kind of look how this actually worked yesterday. Now, yesterday was the 15th, so what we did is we marked off Friday the 12th. Friday the 12th, yeah. And then we also marked off the low. 10 o'clock, the low is the same, so we didn't move this. But as I mentioned yesterday, you can see how the box area right here, we were thinking like, okay, buy the box here. But remember I said consolidations, this almost looks like it's wedging down. And although it had little peaks higher here, wasn't that much, but you can see where it broke down through. So you don't really want to ever buy the bottom or sell the top if you're consolidating in that area, unless you have you've went up straight up. Remember how I've always said it's how you get there that makes a difference. Like, for example, this run up here on MSTR would be a better one to short than to buy the bottom because you're consolidating in an area. At the end of the day, you can see you did get there pretty good, right? Went from 331 down here to 325 and then bounced, but it was short-lived. And if you use VWAP as an exit, you would have exited right there, right? At least partial of your thing. I haven't determined the exact kind of exits here, but it's probably going to be based on how many contracts you have, a series of exits. Give me 1 second, guys.
Good morning, gents. How we all doing today?
Good morning, JC. And yeah, we are streaming YouTube live here. Just getting started. There won't be any people in here, a couple maybe, but it's all part of the algorithm thing. But there's my ugly mug. Like, you really need to see that, but
Shout out to my buddy Josh, who watches your live streams, actually.
oh, nice.
Look at the Coinbase go. Wow.
Coinbase, yeah. She's a moving. Interesting. So going back to this, you can see, hopefully that makes sense, right? So you got to use good sense with this, right? Extensions into resistance are far more potent to have at least a mean reversal than to have a consolidation. Now, you didn't know that this was going to if it was going to consolidate, right? Even here, you didn't know. This is 3 big red bars down, but it bounced some, right? 325 went up to the VWAP was a couple of things, and I'll talk about this more in the mentorship call today on how to use the right deltas when you're choosing this. And I'm still kind of experimenting with some of these, but you have to remember, if you're on a 25 delta and your meta, for example, what is a 25 delta equivalent to on a stop loss using stock? Does anyone know? What is a 25 delta equivalent to on a stop? How far would that same thing equal your stop? Roughly. Remember, options are subjective because you got vega, gamma, right? This rate of change, the speed of the option, the expiration. So there are a lot more variables playing around. But in general, can you think of about what a 25 delta would mean in a stock stop on Meta? No. So that's what we'll cover today. I'll cover how you can kind of determine which deltas to use. when you're using strikes. But if you go back to this area here, this was a far better support area, right? That was 322. Yeah, it went down to 320, but that's not a big deal for MSTR, right? So had a so that would have been a better place, and you would have made some decent money back in here. You have to look at three things. You got to look at where your support is. You got to look at where your targets are. Maybe it's VWAP, maybe it's anchor, maybe it's a 9 EMA on the 5, and maybe it's 38% retracement, and maybe it's a 50% retracement for the box. There's a lot of different variables in here. You'll have to experiment with them all. Going right to left, Microsoft here, put this here over at 10 a.m. We put the high, which is right around here. It was actually the same. We didn't really put it in here, but 10 a.m. Microsoft was up here, and we did short Microsoft, I think, on a stock here, and we ended up making about a half of an R. We kind of washed out with the SPY there, but we did end up making about a half R on that. But look at Microsoft, I just took off. See where it pulled back to? This is a 5, right to the 5 EMA, also pulled back to VWAP, right? So just been strong in general as the market's been. This is NVIDIA. Looking here on Friday's high, looking at the low, and then I don't know why that low is because I'm not sure why that low. Oh, maybe it's a pre-market low, 10 o'clock. But look, it never got anywhere near that, and then went back up to the top of that box, and then it really never hit, never triggered anywhere. Tesla, leave that alone. This has been an animal. Meta, for example, went to the top early, just right on the bottom. Nothing you can do with it. Came back up, and then it had this little top bar here. Now look at the distance in Meta, $4 stop here, maybe $3.50. So you got to get the right delta on here, right? Now remember, if you're at a 25 delta or 30 delta on Meta, you're not going to make more than 30 cents per. Remember, these are all based on the $1 stops. We're starting there. This is just a baseline. And so we're trying to keep that, say, you know what, I've traded the option that had a dollar stop. It's almost as predictable as you are having 100 shares. Remember, you will take slippage on options, particularly metas and things like that, because they're going to have a wider spread. Not as much, because these are clamped down the amount of days were wide. Qs were straight up. You can see here, Friday's high, pre-market high, and it just kind of throttled in here, right? Didn't really kind of stretch out later in the day, but market's just been bullish. No surprise there. We got that run up here, back in here. It actually sold off. We would have done okay in the spiders, but it didn't give us the initial reaction. So we got out for about a break even, 0.04 to be exact, of an R. What's the net gain yesterday? You'd have to have a whole lot of contracts to make money on 0.04. But again, this is just more experimental stage in that. Let's set these stops because we got about 5 minutes to go. We're going off the 15th, the 16th, which is here, or yesterday's low and high actually. And then pre-market will be way up here. This is the SPY high general. And then this is the SPY low pre-post. There, it's way up here, way down here. And again, you're so high up, I don't know this is going to be an accurate description. It's only $3, it can move it, but it's almost like a day's range at around a 15 VIX. But we have to move it up. We'll leave it there for now. Going right to left now on the Qs. Yesterday, I'm going to take this off. Fibonacci retracements. This is on the Qs. Yesterday's low was here. Post and pre is here. Okay, not too bad. We'll keep an eye on that. Meta, similar. Yesterday's low was just a wick of a tail when we opened. And then we got that high around noon-ish. That's been the high. It stayed the high. We'll leave that up there. Going back to Tesla. I'll put it on here. I'm not in danger of doing anything with this stock. It's cray-cray right now. There's the high. Then we'll readjust these. We don't even have to do them now, but it's kind of good to see where we're at. Here's the 15th. Here is NVIDIA. NVIDIA is a decent trader. You get behind it at the wrong time, but it'll leave you alone. It'll leave you, take you for a ride. But most of the days it's okay. And there's the low, pre-market high. give or take. And this up here seems been on a tear in the last month or two. On the MSTR, this is going to be a low delta if you trade this because you can run. And then there's the pre-market high, pre or post market, whatever. All right, let's move off of here real quick. We'll come back to this in a little bit. Let's take a look at this is where we are in the standings as far as open trades right here. You can see here we had a win. I'm showing 173. Yesterday, this is very small risk, very small contract, still at 3. Okay, 173. Week. Well, the week before, we didn't trade that day. That would have been a winner. But, you know, for just a modest approach, this has been $1,131, probably closer around $1,300, $1,400 if you're taking that trade. Remember, tomorrow, we do not trade on FOMC day for this particular trade. Option prices are inflated. They're like porcupines, right? They get scared and, you know, uncertain, and they blow up like blowfish. And that's what options do. So this does not work. The options will move around. It's just a waste of risk, honestly. So today, 16th, we'll see where we open today. Market's still threatening higher prices. Remember, we have monthly expiration coming Thursday, 3:45 play. I'll review that. I'll review that in the mentorship on Thursday, as a matter of fact. The credit side, I'll readjust to the position here to 11,823. This is going to move a lot. If you move down in premium, which is likely on, then it will move. It will go up. I went like a 128, it might move it a little bit. If we go like 180, no. But in reality, you're not going to be moving these until this market pulls back anyway. I got Coinbase made a huge breakout here. Hershey had a little gap up this morning. I'm not sure why. Not an earnings gig here. Yeah, so not that I believe. But Hershey's gapping up over here. Easter's not near us. Maybe it's Halloween. I don't know. All right, guys, welcome. If you are on YouTube, we're just doing a kind of a pre-market look. We're going to open here in about 40 seconds or so. Market had retail sales up today. It's not really reacting. It's just kind of been a little bit of a subdued pullback from the initial overnight gap. You can see here, Qs, the SPY is 0.07 up. Once again, the technology is Qs or NASDAQ is up 0.17, more than double. IWM is lower today at 0.39. ETFs, TAN was up at the top. It's actually not the top anymore. There's no real volume in here. We'll see how things open here. We'll watch these sectors, and then we'll get busy on the VIX. We're gonna open here about 5 seconds. Let's pull the VIX up. Let's go to a 1 minute. Check the gap. See which direction to do this. Remember, yesterday the market gapped up, and what did the VIX do? Gapped up. Was that the right thing to do? Well, in hindsight, it's pretty easy to paint those pictures, right? Yeah, in hindsight, it was the right thing to do, because if you had a debit, you would have lost money yesterday. Again, it could be just the opposite today, but but it worked out where we gapped up and the VIX gapped up. It's unusual, but just to recap, it's more likely to happen when you're down here at support levels. You can't always look at the bias as an opposite on the gap of the market when you're down at support. Every time else is fine, even with volatility up high, but not down here. It's not gonna give you proper indications. Let's see the SPY here. Straight up. That thing is getting so excited. It's just out of air. It doesn't go. Did you see how ridiculous those moves were yesterday? Virtually untradeable. The market was just untradeable, honestly, until we get past this FOMC. There's going to be always something that moves, but for the most part, not. Okay, VIX. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that looks like a gap up.
Small gap up.
And yeah, 10 cents. Yeah, 10-cent gap up. Let's pull up the
$662 with wings at 5. Looks like.
market might hang itself up here. It's too far up. They could even sell off on good news tomorrow. And remember, the SPY options are going to be different. I'll cover that in a second because we're going a 10-day, 9-day, I think 10-day out on expirations day. Today we'll look at that in a second. Let's go to XSP. You want to keep carving that down so we're consistent on how you ever look at stocks and stuff and the chart that you're looking at and the stretch, how far they go up. You change charts and you see them, the scaling's different, how you don't see it the same way. That's a lot by your eyes get accustomed to those looks, and those looks on different charts may look one way, but they're not what you're used to seeing. Okay, XSP here, we're sporting around 662.39. Again, we're waiting for that 5-minute bar to close. 662.17, so we're right about in here. If I just eyeball the deltas on the credit side, remember gapping up, we're going to be selling options. The 662 marker, your two deltas, closest one 6. I think we had 5 yesterday. Now that may change momentarily if we do move above the halfway mark here. But look at the difference on the 662 bids at 110. Look at the strike. Look at the bid here at 55 cents, right? About half. Just 1 penny or $1, or in this case, a few pennies above, and the strike goes to here. What would that be? I mean, hardly anything.
Are we gapping up on VIX today?
We are slightly about a dime. Market gapping up, VIX gapping up, right? This is the second unusual day that we've had. This is where we are. Gapping up, we're going to be selling options up here. Here is where the open trades are. 173 using small contracts. It's what I netted out, just using 3. We're taking this to 10. I'll take this to 20, 30, 40, 50 contracts if it'll take me there. But this is going to be, once you get past 3, until we start getting volatility, it's going to be a month before this thing can move up to keep that MAR in line. It won't let you unless the price comes way down. Then it'll let you make more money. But right now, here, but we had a pretty good run just in the last couple of weeks and a day. We're about 1,300 up. We didn't take this trade, but we should have. And but overall, without that trade, we're 1133 up, small risk, using just two days of that was 2 contracts. The rest was 3.
What, 662?
Okay, is that the close? 662, 5-minute bar.
I think so, 662, because we are 662.2. So that will
Here's
be
the close. Yes, you're right. So 662 is the strike that puts us a little further out here. So 662, eyeballing, you're about right here. So you're back to 5 wide on the deltas here. So we want to be selling that. Let's go back here and I'll post this in a second. So keeping it symmetrical, 61, 60, 59, 58, 57 puts you at around a 5.5 delta that way. This is up for about 160. We're slightly better than yesterday, at least at this point. This is kind of where we are because we're using a 5-minute bar. That way it's not subjective. Let's copy these strikes. I'll put them in the options alert room. Just joined in YouTube Live. Welcome. We are in the process of doing our first trade in the morning using an iron fly. Been very successful. Just to set it and then walk away, and then we'll go to the other trading momentarily. Market is just, it's hanging up here. It's just got no air. No air. Okay, so let's take a look here. We're selling options. We want that credit to be high, right? I'm going to start my bid here at around 170. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna start around 170. I know I'm gonna come down to get it, but I'm gonna start there. Okay, let's go back to 170. We want to see where our credit side is at 170. It's 3 contracts, give or take. I'm gonna stick with 3. It could have went down because it went up, but it didn't. Subject to change this pretty quick.
Wings are 5 wide, Jeff.
5 wide, yeah.
Have you
Remember,
put-
credits are hard to get the number to move.
If you put your order in,
Yeah, I put bid 170 there on the
okay.
options alerts.
I don't
But-
think it's gonna have a chance to hit that.
May not,
because
but for 662, right? So if, let's say you had a big bar that shot down or shot up here in the market, then what would happen? It would expand because you're getting away from center, right? But we're not getting those early moves, those early bars yet. So nothing is transpiring, but I leave it there just in case. And then I'll start working down to it. We're actually breaking down below that area. We're trying to, but not enough. So I have to readjust. And again, I'll do this in decent sized chunks, a couple, so 1. But readjusting to 68, 168. We want to try to keep this pressure as high as we can. Not going to wait around forever. And we're going, well, it's still actually on the downside. I don't think these are, I don't think you posted the standard deviation lines in here. I see it on my other one, so but it's yesterday's.
Give me one
not-
second. I totally forgot that.
Yeah, it's not that important right now. We'll just look at it once we get going. It's because I've used that if we do drop, we haven't been anywhere near dropping.
Because I think it was only 24 point expected move. So
Okay. Oops. Okay, 165. Oh, shoot. I think I hit the debits. Oh, I didn't hit the negative in there. So my order cancel. Let me reset it here. Negative 1.65. Remember, if you're doing this, you're typing in, you gotta use a negative to get the credit. It's coming back to that area, so 165. Keep going down till we get it. Market's still kind of flim-flamming around here. Still dropping. That could throw the, see at 161. So I'm going to hang here a second because if this works its way down at 661.60, we're at 662 center. It's at gap fill now. You can see XSP on the 2-minute chart. See if it pushes through gap fill, and that should roll up and get us. I'm sitting at 660, 165, and I posted that. A little further down with a little spike, we'll get that bid. Okay, we're in.
Yeah,
We didn't
that
get it.
filled.
Okay. And of course, it keeps going down, we would have been better off doing higher, but again, those are the unknowns. We don't chase it, we just work our way down pretty quick. And you do like these moves down do support that higher price. Okay, so we're in the trade. 162.2 is the actual fill after commissions. That's what we base this on. So I'm gonna just take the main numbers at 1.62 divided by 2. Got 82 cents. That's target 1. So for me, I have 3 contracts. I'll sell only one of those down there, take the lion's share at 50% of that or 75% of that. So my limit order is 0.82. That's a debit. Make sure you're getting out on a debit. Let's see. Okay. Target 1. Then I'm going to take that times 25% plus 103 is my target for 2 of those contracts. So because I'm in an odd number, I take a little bit more, or being conservative. And that is at 103. 82. Yeah. 102. Or was it 103? I think it's 103. So
I got 103.
okay, 103.
103 and 82, it looks like to me.
Okay.
Your
2
second,
limit sell, 103 debit, lion's share on the limit. Okay, so both orders are in. So targets are in. We can't do anything about it until when? Well, little addition rule. Been looking back at this at 3:30 as an option to change it around. Now, what we do want to see for the market to clean up, we do want to see the SPY or the whatever. We do want the smart. Right? It's just like it's uncomfortable. It can't move higher, can't move lower. It becomes these just really slow gyrations. You can see the rate of change in the 2 and 5 minute chart. We're talking nickels, 10 cents, nothing, minimal in here. And it's hard to trade stuff like that.
What is your 50% target?
50% is 82. And then I have 103 on the 75% of that 50%. So 82 being the furthest away, 103 being here, and I'll post them. Target 1, 1.03. Target 2, 0.82. Okay, so the posted, you can reference that if you need to. Let's see what happens as we get started here. A little early on these, but remember, today in the mentorship call, I will be reviewing how to set up your options using the right deltas. It'll change based on the ADR. For example, MSTR has a $13 plus ADR. So does Meta, I think they have 13. So is it wise to give that a $2 stop? No. You want to be probably at least a quarter stop based on how it got there. So if I'm at quarter stop, I'm looking at $4 on these, maybe more on MSTR. And then I'll show you how to back out what a dollar loss premium would actually mean. You could still say, all right, I want to put my stop here. And if you're 26 and you want to do a, what's that, a $5 stop, you'd be a little less. You'd be about a 22 delta. Again, this is just intra trading, trying to catch the gamma run. So you don't need it to be big, but this is how you would be how you keep your stock in check, where you can lose a dollar premium. There's not many times in trading you can fix your risk to be $1 or $100 in that example. But this would give you that opportunity. Okay, so right to left MSTR. We're going to adjust these at 10 o'clock, but that's what that pre-market high would look like. Selling off here, I'm surprised. Let's see what Coinbase is doing. Coin is also selling off. This is exactly why. So that big run there, JC got sold into pretty hard, right? At least initially. And so what's going to follow that is more Bitcoin related BTC ETF. Microsoft here. Everything's pulling back. Well, it's no surprise because the market is. There's nothing to do here with these, and we can't do anything until 10 o'clock. We want to get those last bit of potential numbers out. We want to see what happens as they hit these areas. We want to see how they get there. We want to look to the left at least 2 to 3 days out. Is there any further support that, or in this case, resistance higher than the lead here? At this point, I'll start marking off these tops later. The goal would be here, but so you want to see if it's a long move higher, straight up. I may not wait for that. I may just take a 5-minute or 2-minute turn bar. Tesla, forget about that. Meta doing very well. Q's pulling in, and so is the spiders in here a little bit more. Yeah, the Q's are 0.02 up. Spiders, so we're basically flat. The Dow in itself is where'd we go? $74 down. Again, I think they know which direction the market's going in tomorrow, but it'd be a surprise. You don't know. So we got a few minutes on this. Let it wiggle around, get a lot of this head fake out of the way. We're about flat on the XSP here. Okay, welcome to YouTube. If you're brand new on YouTube stream, I see a few people on here. Welcome. We do this usually Tuesdays and Thursdays. For now, sometimes just once every other week. We typically start off our day by going into the XSP, setting up the iron fly. We do it every morning. Our batting average is probably, it's got to be around 85% or so, which is a little bit high, but we do extremely well on that play. We've already entered that play. Here, it's a set it and forget it type of an atmosphere. You can see in the last few days, obviously our open trades, you can see the win history. It's very green, very green. So we are in the credit side today. Markets extended FOMC tomorrow. Market doesn't want to make any drastic moves, so it doesn't have to unwind itself. It can't unwind the same way that we unwind a position. Energy is looking lower here. Some will sell set up in need. This is going to be more utility based. XLE is strong in general. USO is strong in general, but specific in the utility side of the energy is weak, or weaker, I should say. XRT is the lowest sector that I'm tracking in here, 0.78, and the strongest sector is XLE. It's a little bit of convert. SMH up at the top here. Gold down here about 0.47. That may not stick, but that's the ETF for the gold index, and there's GDX. We'll watch how this actually moves. These are all way, way, way up here. Market coming back up a little bit here. That'll, at least in the short term, you will not get out of this position before 1 o'clock. I mean, probably best case, particularly lower VIX, takes longer to hit because of just the stagnancy of those trades. It takes longer. Okay. That's a shot right up here to anchor when the market opened, a little above it here, but look where it closed below anchor. It could still go. It's kind of trapped between basically VWAP in general and then yesterday's VWAP, but we lock in anchor. Very inside day on Tesla. It's up here in the stratosphere. This is all just because Elon bought close to $1 billion of purchase stock yesterday, and people played that. Just like Warren Buffett, it's almost like they follow those people in, thinking that they know something better than we know. And all they're doing is putting huge money behind it. So it lifts the stock. It doesn't mean anything more than that. Hershey gapping up or falling in here. A lot of these stocks on a gap up or this stratosphere, they can't hold themselves. We're getting close to about 9 minutes away from our adjustments. we'll adjust these here. This is a combination of using support and resistance from the previous day and or previous day or whatever is higher or lower using post and pre-market. Big shot down to the market here. So if those are spread out of whack a little bit here, but that's just because the spread widens on these big moves lower. Pretty narrow day overall. Yesterday we had a range day of 60, 61, what, $1.70-ish. One of the most narrow days that we've had. There might be an inside day here. That's even narrower than that. But it's one of the most narrow days that we've had in quite some time. And that's just a product of being way up here. Market giving way a little bit here. What's our strike here? 662. We've drawn in on that. Pretty good. But we know what happens. These reversions are common. Let's see, right to left, micro strategy, like Bitcoin, Coinbase, ETF, BTC still down, Microsoft down, NVIDIA. Well, they're all down, but kind of playing around. Tesla kind of hanging in there. Meta is one of the ones that's holding the highs here. Let's make sure there's nothing in the way. No earnings, 1029. SPY is pulling down pretty good here. User pulling down. From a box perspective, the SPY is weaker. You can see it's 3/4 of the box. Now, you do want to look to the left. That is your first more double bottom support level. You hit a double bottom and then took out the pivot and then went higher. And that happens to be lined up where the bottom of the box is. So it's around, it's not far. It's only around 70, 80 cents or so away. We'll see how it gets there. Well, look at the Meta push back on that. 81.73. Look at that pushback on Meta. Oh, that was just a strong beat. It shot up here for some reason. Wow. Traded there very quickly on that volume and pushback. We got about 5 minutes, so we'll hold back on those a little bit. Let the market do its little thing here. Remember, we don't know what it's going to do in the short term. The market it knows it has news tomorrow. It knows the probabilities. It never knows about surprises. That's going to affect it. But we could be so high up here and have the 1/4 basis point drop cut, and then the market goes lower too, right? Depends on how much that they priced in, how much they baked into current pricing. Kava is making a nice run. It's still in a downtrend on all time frames, at least from a 65 here. Nice little move higher. It's definitely oversold. Got a 1/4 contract. I mean, a 1/4 position in here. I don't really have any risk there, but still way out in time. But probably won't add. I don't think I would, unless it got above here somehow changed. Maybe it would add. Maybe I would just sell that position out. This is a pretty big drop that never got bought back. But look at the options watch list in here. Duolingo did go up to 319.5. We actually got in right here in this bar, sold out. There's Kava, here's CNSys is a play here, earnings, Amgen, no play, Lulu, potentially, right? Not here, but too close to the 8 here. 8's at 167, it's at 161-ish. I like that. I want to see coming back, slingshotting back. That's why we call this a slingshot. Slings down and slings back up. We just want to take part of that sling. UNH pulling back to the 8 here. Probably done with that. And then this is the trade desk. This is interesting. If FOMC wasn't tomorrow, I would be interested in trade desk. I'm going to have to wait to get in this till after FOMC because that could affect this software applications more than others. I'll look at the Hershey pull all the way back and pick it off the list. Okay, we're getting close. Pseudo plunge, and I say pseudo because it's hard to think plunge. But we did take out today's high mostly on the gap by, 75 cents. The low on this is 659.34. Today we went down to 660.03. We're just above that now. So we're still well above this daily chart. We are getting extended from here. There's a gap in here. 65-minute trailing nicely on the 8, but we're getting up here. Extending from the 20, we're extending here. No surprise. Qs are even a little bit worse, but it's just because tech has been moving. We're red in all departments now, except for XLE, USO. Let's see if gold made a turn back. Gold stayed down here, actually got a little worse. We got sectors low, metals lower. That's the kind of sitting, actually, two went back up. That's still kind of a spinning top here. Market seems to be okay settling down. The window on the 661, you got a 162 here, so 62 cents higher, a 162 higher or lower than 662 would create profit in here, but we're going to try to sell these out early. All right, let's move over to the day trade list now. Reposition. There's not much to do with some of these, or we've already done them, but MSTR coming back to the high. You see these areas here. I wouldn't be so, I would probably be looking for this turn because this was a turn high that took out the pivot. This one did too. This is a higher turn, took out that one. Probably looking around 334-ish. Microsoft continued to bleed here. No play for Microsoft. NVIDIA. Meta. Wow, look at that Meta. It shot up here to 783-ish. Wow, $13 move instantly. Meta. That's a wild animal. Remember though, on Qs and SPY, doing 0 DTEs on these other ones, let's just pull up just to Microsoft just to show you. So the options I'm using today on Microsoft are going to be, let me just put it in here. Okay, we're 10 days. Yesterday we were 11. We're going to keep bringing these days down, right? And let's just take a look at Microsoft. We got a couple minutes yet. Microsoft runs typically about $7. At least in the last 5 days, it's proved to run on average about $7, counting pre and post market in those moves. So if you look at where it's trading at around 510, 511, right in there, there's a spread in there. And let's say that you were going long. No, we're not. There's a decent, it's trading pretty decent options here. We're 10 days out. It's a 55 delta. So if I want to use, say, a $3 stop in that, that's half the ADR. I could use $2.50 stop in that. It'd probably be realistic. Puts me at around a 511 and say I'm at 510 if I went long, 509. So I would probably have to use the other way, my deltas out of the money, probably have to use the 515s. That puts me on a 44 delta, maybe even a 38 delta in this, probably 44 delta I'll probably use. That means for every dollar that the stock moves, the option moves 44 cents. And if you have a $1 premium stop just across the board and you're at 44 cents, roughly $2.10, $2.25 is going to stop you out. That's about in line. So you want to make sure you choose the right delta based on the ADR, which we'll talk about today in the mentorship call. And you want to make sure you choose the right delta, just in the sense of, are you on the right strikes? So come back to that if we find something that's near. We're definitely past the 10 o'clock time. Let's readjust these markers. Nothing to adjust on MicroStrategy. Nothing to adjust here. Video, nothing. Tesla, leave it alone. We've already adjusted under Meta. Look at that thing bounce down or roll. Qs, we've adjusted that already in SPY. SPY is interesting. Low here is roughly 639.34. It's a ways down there yet. I don't want to be too early on this stuff, so we don't have anything yet that's showing up. Buy volume 8.5 mil. Okay, nothing showing up yet on the day trade board. For the credit on September 16th XSP, we pulled back dollar, not much, about 20 from the center. So mark the center off. There's the center. What if that VIX is going to be nice to us today? And stocks holding well. For solar doing good. Actually, for solar looks interesting here. I'm not going to play anything option wise until we get past tomorrow, but I like the little 3-bar play setting up here. You can see Solar Technologies is doing nice coming off this little turn. It's all mixed up in the averages, right? Just kind of dropped out of that little base. Now back up above the 8 here, but it is higher. TAN is up to the top of the list here. The TAN ETF has got a nice buy setup in here. Remember, it doesn't move. Pretty good day yesterday, and that's a good day that moves $1. On a normal day, it probably moves closer to 50 cents under TAN. So if you're trading that, just keep that in mind. You can trade that heavier in options, maybe, but the Kappa had a nice little shot up here, turned back. Tesla got a little busy here. Nothing but bleed here off the open. I would imagine the closer we get to FOMC, because we are so high, I'd imagine they're probably going to try to take some profits off the table a little bit. Maybe not anything drastically, but just lighten up their positions a little bit. They've had a heck of a run. Go back to the drawing board under stocks. SPY is getting down there. Q's not as bad, but everything's in the red. Big turnaround on Meta. And the other thing you want to see, because you're starting at the top of the box here, if let's just say Microsoft went down here, well, that's far enough down. I don't necessarily need to be looking at support down here because I've exceeded ADR. You have to look at several things. How far are we moved down in relation or up to what the ADR is? If you move down a little bit, because you started at the high point, in this case, maybe moved up, you want to hold back. You don't want to necessarily sell that top there or buy that bottom, because you're still, in general, you want to be more than probably 50% of that ADR move. In comma. Congrats. Nothing to do here, guys. Market's still really choppy, selling off overall. Stocks in general, though, are subdued. They're not doing anything great. It's a meta.
I was listening to the market news this morning, and some hedge fund manager, they were asking about how to describe the market, and he's like, well, it's not really a bull, it's not really a bear, it's more of a bunny just hopping along trying to find out where it's going.
A bunny, that's about right. Hippity hoppity. This is where we would trade the SPYs at. See them on September 16th, 0 DTE. Now we're not doing it now, but 660 is where it's trading at right now. See the difference here? You have 90 cents, and because you're playing down on the debit, if it went to 0, most you can lose is 90 bucks. Not that we want it to, but that's a 50 delta. So when I play the SPY, understand I'm playing 50 deltas off SPYs. I'm not playing any other stock off of the 50 delta. I'm playing them out of the money to give them the room. SPY on a 50 delta, how many dollars does the stock have to move back to make that a $1 premium loss? You should know this, right? How many dollars does the SPY have to move back if at a 50 delta to have a $1 premium loss? The takers?
$2.
You got it. $2. $2. So you can gauge, for the most part, your stops by deltas. Expirations will change the flow of those options, but really you're dealing with a gamma specific thing. So it's all more about gamma, or deltas rather. All right, let's check out the sections again. Nothing still. Nothing's still giving us anything. Look at the MSTR. It comes down here to 325. Shoots back up to 330. Back down to 326. Things are all over the place in the markets here. I'm sure I could look down this list here and say, okay, I could find something that would probably say, all right, that's a buy setup or that's a sell setup or something like that, right? You can see STLD has a decent ADR, $3.20, right? And holding a decent gap, maybe a put spread in there. No, I'm not going to do any put spreads or call spreads ahead of numbers tomorrow, but this is the type of gap you'd want to see, right? Gapping up over those areas. It's already ran, $3. But this is going to be basic materials, but it's based on steel. Tesla had a pretty good fall here. Doesn't look like much, but that's $3 quick. Market's still kind of sucking some wind down here. That makes sense to me. All right, if you're just joining here, we've entered the XSP iron fly with a center strike of 662. Right now the market's pulling down, so when you're doing a credit like we are here, you don't want to leave the center too much. We're pulled back. I'm only about $1.25 off the center, but the market isn't moving around a lot. So the $1.25 normally sounds easy to recover, and it probably will be, but it's a little bit more. The VIX is pretty tame down here. 16 moved back up a little bit here. Even on the drop, it's moved a little bit higher. See that support area? Let's tell where the market, wants to pull back in this area. as the VIX still begins to climb. So far, the market's still kind of pushing the envelope down. You're 140. We're still at 30-40 cent profit, and 30-cent profit if 20-cent profit if we closed here, right? But that's a long way from that. Market just still seems to be okay just by selling off a little bit here. SPY's at 10 million. Take a look at the SPY on the hourly chart. Let's take a look at the 15-minute chart as opposed to yesterday. This is yesterday. We had a huge run yesterday. Today we had a better bar today, bigger bar. Actually, we are doing better than I thought. Yeah. So I didn't think it was, but the SPY actually is increasing in volume over yesterday. Markets continue to look lower here. Maybe closer to a 1030 watch on the day trade today. Go back to the sheet here, all over the place on MSTR. Little bounce on Microsoft, Nvidia. Meta still wants lower. Use SPY is the closest thing I see right here, guys, and I kind of like it's coming down here. Below this bar on the SPY is let's just look to the left. Okay, so the SPY is pretty precipitous drop here. We move. Well, let's pull up over here. Not a lot. We moved a buck. Actually, two. A little more than $2. It actually is a big drop for this VIX. The low in the SPY is 659.34. We are close. You want to see what Target's doing? Never trigger, but Target's getting down to these lows here. That's why I put on this list today to watch. SPY is 659.34. We want to be alerted if we touch that area. Comment, look at that comment. Gave it all the way up to gap fill. Again, when you're below this white dotted line here, the 8-period moving average, right? It's difficult for traders, right? And I'm talking about big money traders to move the needle above the 8-period moving average. It takes an analyst, takes something big. Either happens on a gap. Every time it touches or bleeds through the 8, it always seems to close under it. And I'm just looking at Kava now. This is with every stock, most stocks. You're going to have your one-offs, things that just go from down here through it, right? That's a news-generated stock. But outside of that, you should be using that 8-period EMA. Hasn't always been effective. It's been the 9 for a long time. The 8 seems to be what's in right now. Get some moving the tan stocks here. In-phase energy moving back up. That first goal is probably doing pretty well. Actually, it's not, but the 3-bar play is. See how that holds after earnings tomorrow. All right, let's see. Take a look at here under the Fed watch for tomorrow. We are seeing 96.1, 3.9. You can see the probabilities continue to drop on the surprise, meaning that yesterday was 5% chance that they were going to surprise. Today it's only a 3.9, meaning they're going to move it down 50 basis points. If they do surprise tomorrow, the market's going to jump on the surprise. They haven't factored that in, but they have factored this in, 96%, and it's been that way for a long time. So I don't suspect that we're going to see huge moves unless something happens on the surprise side, but one never knows, so we'd be ready for anything.
There's something to be aware of on the SPY and the XSP is when they opened today, they both hit, in the first minute, they both hit their 1-year high. So over the last 12 months, at open, they hit the highest point they have been at for the last 12 months.
or ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
forever. That's right. Forever.
Yeah, it keeps breaking highs every single day. This day it did.
Which kind of, to me, kind of puts like an imaginary ceiling on where you think it's going to hit its head.
Well, every day it pushes in here because
Yeah,
the market, the inflation numbers, the job data, now FOMC, the way it just keeps pushing the envelope in here. I'm surprised they haven't whipped it down quite a bit just to take some of the proceeds off the table. Day's not over.
that's the same thing that I'm thinking is that when is this run gonna end? You know, it's gonna, at some point in time, there's gonna be some kind of correction to it.
Well, the market will correct, yeah. It never corrects in our timeline, right? Corrects in its own timeline, but it does correct.
Yeah.
The SPY that was a close one. SPY took a jump a little bit early on. 63, we're about 30 cents off that bottom. That option, if you see the option SPY, 0DT 660, you're about $1 now, right? This is where you can get to the point having 5 and 10 contracts down the road. Especially in these here, again, where everything's $1. So the fact is, it doesn't really matter, right? Everything's $1. We may have to adjust that, but at least for now, that's a good starting point. Qs, Meta kind of just still sideways lead. By the way, I did trade the Tesla at 425 yesterday, and I sold out at 410, and on the short that I had. So it was a nice, $800 gain just on a small amount, just 50 shares of that short. You don't need a lot on Tesla because it moves enough that you just want to be safer. Microsoft moving right back up here. MicroStrategy all over. Look at these stocks, guys. These are the movers and shakers, right? These are the ones that are creating volatility. That's what Apple's doing. Apple straight up here to the top, triple top. Market coming back, spread play starting to gain some traction in here, $36. Again, this could be maybe $190, $200 day on that option. Again, it's small, but the goal is the thing that you can ruin you on this is you start too big. Then you start jumping around. You just start on the day with a miss and you're down. But if you let it go up and you get to 10 contracts, you can start pushing yourself, $700, $800, $900 a day, and you're done in the first 5 to 10 minutes, say 15, and you're done. Then you go on about your normal trading, right? Had you have been at that point in the last few months, let's say an average of 2-5 times, you'd have made a little over $10,000, right? Just had you have been there, even 5 times that amount in just about a month and a half, about $5 grand a month. Utilities still pushing in. Check the volatility trade. See the VIX, tradable VIX. How about when it part of that, did it suck everybody in here, right? And went up and touched the 8s. The high on that is 6412. What's the 8? 6416. Right? It's not a place to be. People that don't see this, they see that as a turning place. And again, every so often they're right. But more often, we're right. Go back to the chart. I don't think it's going to give us anything today on these day trades, guys. I mean, maybe this little V bottom in here, usually these take out the low. people buy these as the bottom and put their stop here. They're almost always wrong for doing that. You're buying a big drop. You think this is the bottom, and it may put a higher low here, bounce midway, and then move up. And it's possible. Normally, I would say the SPY will take out the low here. Now we are ahead of this report, so who knows, but I think we have a chance, better chance of this taking out the low, the best chance to get in this live contracts. Guys, I'm going to end the YouTube streaming here for right now. What I'm going to have to do is you're going to have to probably log back in. I apologize, but I don't, until I figure out another way. I'm sure there's a way, but I don't have that figured out yet. So I'm going to stop the share right now and come right back into YouTube. Thanks for being on the YouTube stream. See you guys next time.